and welcome to the PC Gamer Weekender live stream. Over the next 4.5 hours, I'm going to be talking to people about a ton of the great games that are on show here today. I'm Zoe, and first off, let's start with Surviving Mars, who's here, and Sebastian's going to talk to me about it.
My name is Sebastian, I'm from Paradox, and Surviving Mars is a survival city builder, which means that you're building a colony on the planet of Mars, but you also have to kind of survive the ordeals
as the name would imply
of Mars. It's a very harsh environment, so you can definitely encounter a lot of problems for your colony and your colonists. So yeah, that's
awesome.
pretty much what it's about.
Sweet. So how does each game start? What can players expect in the first couple of minutes?
What happens when you start out the game is that you choose a mission sponsor and also the landing spot on the planet. And all of these different landing spots that you have that you can choose have different kind of qualities to them. So this will determine how difficult your game will be. So you will be able to kind of choose how hardcore your experience should be. And Surviving Mars really is a game that can be very hardcore if you like, which I like to play. Yeah.
I believe you've got a bit of gameplay to show us. You started off in your colony.
Yes, we have started off by creating a small kind of first stage colony. Our first colonists have landed.
Nothing's gone awfully wrong yet?
Nothing has gone awfully wrong yet. We've prepared it quite thoroughly. And kind of what I wanted to show you guys today is just kind of how you can specialize your different domes and the kind of habitats that you can create. Because every dome can be unique and you can specialize them in a number of interesting ways, which is kind of what we're going to show you now. So shall we just jump into it?
Go ahead.
All right, so here we have our little dome. As you can see, we've got plenty of resources. We've got most of our infrastructure set up already. The dome is, however, quite empty.
You don't want that.
We don't want that.
Nuh-uh.
So what do we want to do? Well, colonists, they need food, right? So one of the things that I like to do in the beginning is to create a dome that is focused on food production. You don't have to do it that way, you can do it whatever way you like, but I like to do that because that's one of the most important resources for your colonists to survive, right? So we'll just start out by checking out this dome, where we can see here we have a lot of empty spots. We have apartments here for our different colonists. That it's not quite filled up yet. We've got a research lab, which is kind of basic because you can't do research otherwise, which you're going to need. It's going to be imperative to your success. We've got an infirmary, which is obviously needed if someone gets sick.
When someone gets hurt, inevitably.
Someone gets hurt. Inevitably, people are going to get hurt in this game. So it's good to have. Then we also, of course, have a diner. So this is actually only a place where you eat, but you can build a space bar if you like.
Nice.
So what we're going to do here, the only resource that we aren't really producing that's really important is food right now. So what we're going to do is that we're going to start to create some farms. We're going to build some farms in the dome. So let's place this one here. We'll place them out evenly across the dome.
So farms, can you have like cows and pigs, or is it mainly vegetables?
It's mainly vegetables and stuff that you can grow, but they are also, there's also obviously different kinds that will, when we finish one of the domes, one of the farms, we'll be able to see just kind of the mechanics behind the farms, but you'll be able to, different kind of crops will produce different types of foods, different amounts of foods, and it will also determine the soil quality of the farm, which will also kind of impact how much stuff you get output, right? So here we can see on the first kind of farm that we finished, we only have wheat production, which creates 14 units of food, which is not, I mean, it's not that much. The good thing about wheat is that it also creates some oxygen, which is of course helps your supply of oxygen in the dome, which makes your colonists really happy.
Because humans kind of need oxygen.
They kind of
do. It's like an optional thing, but you kind of need it.
You know,
a lot.
I always like a bit of oxygen in the morning to get me
me
up.
too, and my lungs love it. Can't get enough of it.
But you can, of course, you can change the kinds of foods that you grow. Our selection right now is quite limited. As you can see, we can only kind of grow 3 different kinds. Wheat, which has a low output, but it's got some oxygen production. We've got potatoes, which has a lot of output. We can see here that, for example, we get 45 units of food. But the problem with potatoes is that the soil quality will decrease over time, which is going to lower the output that you have. So you can counter that. What I like to do when I create a farm, because you want to have a balance of good output, but still want to keep up the quality, right? So I like to put in potatoes. But then after the first potato cycle is finished, I put in soybeans, because soybeans have it's an okay kind of output, but it increases the soil quality. So putting in soybeans to kind of just keep it neutral, but still have great output. So we'll do that. We'll have one farm will keep producing wheat, because we want to have the oxygen running and kind of pumping into the dome. This one, we don't have enough colonists to actually work it, which is a problem, obviously.
Definitely, yeah. That would make surviving Mars a lot easier if you didn't have humans you had to take care of.
Yeah, exactly. And
Empty
of course, you can, if you get into the mid and late game, you can research different technologies which will make your life much easier. So, for example, kind of automate the farming process, so maybe you only need 2 workers instead of 6, stuff like that, which can be really useful. See, we have 1 person now who's working on the farm too, even. You can also, in terms of the different kinds of crops that you grow, you can, like I said earlier, you can research different kinds. So here, if we start to research utility crops, those will provide different hydroponic farms, different types of produce that you make that, as we explained earlier, has a different impact and a more positive impact on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
You can also grow fungi.
Fun?
Yeah, it's fun fungi. And these are kind of little shelters, or whatever you want to call it, that's placed outside your dome, but has its closed ecosystem, and it's also quite useful if you have domes that have been filled up and you don't really have any space to kind of build any more farms. Like, for example, this dome, it's filling up, we don't have enough space to build another farm. Then you can put, for example, low-G fungi outside so that they can work that, which is really good.
In terms of things that happen outside domes, there's also these mysteries you can encounter, right? Like
Yes.
narrative events. Tell me a bit about them.
So mysteries, mysteries come up a bit later in the game, so we won't be able to see it on the screen right now. But when you set up your game, you can choose to have a random mystery that triggers. And there's, I think, 7 or 8 of them, different kinds, that it's a kind of a quest line that starts, right? And you don't really know what's going on, you just know that something in the colony happens. So in one mystery, you have these mysterious black cubes that just appear out of nowhere, and you don't know what you're going to do with them. Like, what do I store them? Do I build statues with them?
Are they alive?
Are they alive? Are they controlled by someone? Like, what do they do? You don't know that. But then you can use your explorer, for example. This is the explorer unit, which is kind of like your science unit out in the field, and it can start to kind of research and analyze these different anomalies that occur. And hopefully that will give you some more answers as to what is happening.
Hopefully good answers, not that it wants to kill you and drink your blood. Hopefully.
Well, I'm gonna leave that one open because it is a mystery, and we don't wanna reveal everything just yet. But it's kind of the main kind of quest line that goes through one playthrough. But you have one mystery that is active through one playthrough that goes for quite a long time. So you have quite a lot of playthroughs in order to actually discover all of them, which is really nice, and it brings a lot of variety to the game.
Yeah, definitely. I guess the Colonist also bring quite a lot of differences between your different playthroughs. Like, what kind of things can they get up to?
So the Colonists, they are all individually simulated. So as we can see here, we take Eric Young here. All the different colonists have different needs, obviously. So you have health, which represents physical injury, exhaustion, illnesses, stuff like that can happen. Exhaustion, for example, if you put the same person on the night shift as the day shift, their health is going to deteriorate.
I don't really blame them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, that's fair enough.
But then we'll put them in our people management dome. We can get to that later. Then you have sanity levels.
Sanity?
Yes.
Right.
Because it's being on a strange planet, especially for the first colonists who land on the planet. They come from Earth, they're born on Earth, so it's not natural to them to live in this kind of environment. So they can get kind of Earth sick and uncomfortable mentally in that kind of environment. But you can obviously you can build different improvements to your dome to kind of tackle those issues.
Like parks and stuff? Like
parks and stuff, you can build sanatoriums, infirmaries, you can build different kinds of buildings that will help you help them. Then you have comfort. Comfort is kind of self-explanatory. It will get relieved by social interactions, by parks. If the dome is beautiful, if you built, like, for example, here, down here, we have built outside our little research lab. We have built little fountains where they can sit and just relax. Maybe our colonists here.
No, not interested.
No, she's probably comfortable enough already. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But they can kind of sit down and relax, and it also adds kind of this general beauty layer to the dome, which impacts their comfort as well. Also, their living quarters will impact that. So in this dome, we have apartments here that are they're more designed to be able to give a lot of space rather than maybe comfortable space. But you can research new kinds of buildings, new kinds of apartments and living quarters that will help you out with that.
Can you build like giant mansions and palaces and stuff, like really
you can build very modern kind of apartments, and yes, you can. There are definitely layers to it, so you can build the more premium kind of apartments that maybe serve a much smaller population but give a maximum positive impact. So yeah, that would be the Martian Mansion. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then we have comfort, and then we also have morale, which is the overall happiness and optimism and loyalty. And when this plummets, a lot of different things can happen.
Tell me all about them.
For example, I think the most extreme kind of deterioration that can happen is that they get so fed up with life on Mars that they become so-called renegades. And renegades, what they do is they're disgruntled with your leadership, right? So they'll go around sabotaging your buildings. They won't work.
That's not nice.
They won't be making anyone happy. No. However, you can of course counter that kind of behavior as well. With security stations. We can build one here just preemptively, right?
You can be a benevolent dictator pretty much.
You can if you want. It's very much there are quite a lot of different layers to it. You can really make it kind of your own experience. And there's a lot of emergent experiences that just come naturally. Like, for example, I had a really fun playthrough where I land, so you have the first colonists that land, they have to survive for 10 sols, which is kind of the time before the colony is approved to be able to send more colonists. But I forgot to turn on the oxygen in my dome.
That's a problem.
It can be a problem.
Bit of a problem.
So everyone perished except one person, and the reason why he didn't perish was because he had a special trait known as the healthy trait. I don't know if we have one here. Or a survivor trait and a healthy trait, which made him survive long enough for me to put on the oxygen. So what happened was I ended up with a colony with one guy
Oh my God.
who had to survive alone for 7 years on Mars.
7 years?
Yeah.
He's going to be messed up.
So I think they made a movie about that.
Definitely, yeah.
So
I think I've seen it.
that sort of stuff can happen, and that's what makes I think makes most of what's really fun about this game are these kind of situations where you have to improvise your solutions constantly.
Definitely leads to a lot of cool stories you can tell your mates.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, looking at this now, we have a problem we have now is that, as we can see here in the dome, we have 6.6 consumption of water because we have so many farms, and farms consume quite a lot of water. So if we build another dome, there's not going to be much left. So we'll need to figure something out. Of course, there are systems in place to do this. For example, we can build a so-called dome spire. And a dome spire is it's a building that you place in the middle of the dome, and that helps specialize your dome even more. So here, for example, we've researched the water reclamation system, which works really well for a farming dome. Because farms, they consume a lot of water, so it makes sense to have a system in place to kind of conserve the water to make it easier for your colony. So they're kind of buildings that take up a lot of resources, but they're well worth it in the long run, I think. So let's place one here, and they're quite beautiful as well, I think. It's going to take a while, so we'll speed it up and see if they can build it. And this will help our entire endeavor, right?
Yeah.
Also, what you can do, another problem that we have in this dome, you can see the whole map here, which is quite large, but we still have not found a water reservoir yet, except for up in the left corner, which is, if we look at the screen, it's very far away. So we'd have to build pipes all this way down to the colony, and these pipes, they need to be maintained. And they need drones to kind of make sure that they're all right. And we don't have enough. Drones, and we don't have enough reach.
So you definitely need to build up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened here was that our colony was now evaluated positively. That means that we can send for additional colonists, which is exactly what we're going to do because our farms need workers.
Yes, definitely. So in terms of release date and pre-orders, when's it going to be out?
So it's going to be released on March 15th. And the pre-order is live as we speak.
Oh, good.
On PC, on Xbox, and on PlayStation. So please check it out if you're interested in the game.
Yes.
And if you do pre-order, you can get an in-game bonus, which gives you an extra dome set, which makes your domes look different. They're really nice. So check it out. Definitely.
Nice. Great. Thanks for talking about surviving Mars. It looks devious and brilliant.
Yes.
Good. So
Thank you
up
so
next,
much.
That's okay, don't worry. So up next we have Biomutant. Tune in 10 minutes to see it in action.